4 minutes Flutter layout basics. Let's begin. Start with a container. Give it a color and see that it's greedy and takes up all the available space. Containers with no children try to be as big as possible unless the incoming constraints are unbounded. Unbounded means that there are no constraints. For example, a scrollable widget is unbounded in its scroll direction, as it could potentially have an unlimited scroll size. Wrap the container in a scrollable widget called single child scroll view and see that it goes bye-bye. That's because a scroll view will only ever be as big as its children in a scroll directions axis. And a container is either as big as possible or as big as its child if it has one. This container cannot be as big as possible because Flutter does not know how big the scroll view can be. The container also has no children, therefore its child is 0. So, let's give the container a text widget as a child, and now you can see that it takes the size of that child. Center the text child and see that the container fills up all the available width. This is because the single child scroll view widget is set to scroll vertically. However, it is bounded horizontally, meaning Flutter can determine how big the width should be. We can always override a container's size by setting the width, height, and constraints arguments. Let's set the width and the height to 300. So far we've only worked with one container. Let's make a couple more. We begin by wrapping the container in a column. For a column widget, you can provide multiple children that can be laid out vertically. We'll take the old container and make 3 versions of it, each with a different color. Observe that these widgets are scrollable because of the single child scroll view widgets. Nice, and observe that these child containers' heights can be as big as possible, as the scroll view's height is unbounded. Remove the single child scroll view widget and see that we are getting an error that says the bottom is overflowed, because the last container cannot be rendered in the available render box size. Let's decrease the height of each container to 200 to make sure all of the containers fit. Let's try to space things around on the main axis, which is the vertical axis for a column. Set the column's main axis alignment equal to main axis alignment.spaceAround. Other values we can set it to are space evenly spaced between start, center, and end. Let's remove the main axis alignment. Drop in a size box widget between 2 of the containers. Give it a height of 50. We can use this to easily create thick spacing. Want something more dynamic based on the available size? Replace the size box with a spacer widget. This will use all of the available space. Maybe you don't want the empty space and want 3 containers that take up all the available space. No problem. Remove the spacer and wrap each of the containers with an extended widget, which expands each of the children to take up as much space as allowed. This overrides the height we gave the container, so we can go ahead and remove that. Want the middle container to be bigger? No problem. Set the flex attribute to a value bigger than the default of 1. Flutter will take each widget's flex attribute and calculate the sum total. Then it will calculate the size based on each widget's flex value, divided by the total. The bigger you set the flex value, the bigger it will expand in relation to the other flexible widgets. Important to remember that an expanded widget must be a descendant of a row, column, or flex. We're running out of time, so all you need to know about a row is that a row is basically a column. The only difference is that a row lays out widgets horizontally. Both a row and column expand flex. However, for a row and column, the main axis direction has already been set. If you're only working with a single widget, you don't need to use rows and columns. Let's go back to the basics and only use a single container with a light blue color. Give it a width of 200, now give it a height of 200. Wrap that container with a center. Replace the center widget with an align and give it an alignment of bottom center. Now middle center, now right center. You get the idea? There's a truckload of widgets to explore. These are just some of the basics to get you started. On the Flutter side, there is a fantastic code lab to further help you. Go check it out and have fun. Cheers.
I